The College Planning Edge. Multiply your odds of getting into your dream college and get your hands on thousands of dollars of fat, juicy scholarships. Brought to you by Lockwood College Prep, helping college-bound families get the edge in college admissions, financial aid, scholarships, and test prep.
Okay, welcome to College Talk Tuesday. Easy for me to say. Pearl and Andy Lockwood here from Lockwood College Prep, talking college. And today, Pearl,
yes. Welcome, Andy. Hi, everybody.
I'm welcoming you. You don't welcome me back.
Welcome, Andy.
No. Welcome, Pearl.
Oh, thank you, Andy.
I feel
nice
very welcome.
Nice to see you and everybody.
Yes, we're here live in the new, spacious Lockwood College Prep tutoring facility, backed by such educational luminaries as John Belushi, a.k.a. what was he? Otter? No. What was his name?
The guy who did the food fight.
Yeah. Whatever. How do we not know that?
If any viewers are out there now and you could quickly put it in, I know this is shameful.
Yeah, I'm very embarrassed.
I am.
So, anyway, Gabe Cotter is here as well in spirit. All right, so what we're talking about today is really an extension of a conversation that we have a lot, but we had it most recently 5 minutes ago when I mistakenly streamed this to the wrong Facebook page. But even before then, this morning, Pearl and I were chatting about a client who shall be unnamed, but doesn't really matter what the name is because we have this type of situation again. And I'm talking about the talk, meaning here we are in March. Many, but not all, college acceptances have started to come in, as well as college financial aid and scholarship offers. And parents are I guess they're starting to realize just how much college is actually going to cost. That's a weird thing about this whole process, that you apply without really knowing, even though Pearl does her best to make projections on what colleges are actually going to cost families. Until you actually see the number, it's like a different type of intangible scenario that becomes tangible very quickly.
Yes. Okay,
so along those lines, just to kind of frame this, because I want you to do most of the talking here. Along those lines, the client was kind of talking to Pearl about, okay, so my son got into two different colleges. We're trying to decide between these two schools, and of course, Murphy's Law being what it is, the college that costs this amount is the one that the kid wants to go to, and the one that costs half this amount is not the one that the kid wants to go to. But the dad, and you claim the mom, although I'm not sure about that, are kind of the opinion that, well, the dad certainly feels like, is it really worth going to the double price school? Like, why would he go there? So pick up on that, and I'll just remind everyone, welcome. We do this every week, 12 p.m. If you have any questions, whether you're watching this live or on replay, please pop them in. Just say hi, actually, even if you don't have a question, other than you just want to stop by. Leave them in the comments here, and please share and like and all that. And if you have these discussions, if you've had any of these discussions with older kids, or you have a senior now, and you've handled these types of questions the same way or differently, I'd like to hear about that. If you have a sophomore or a junior, and you haven't had this discussion yet, this might be the time to plant that seed, right?
Or for that matter, if you have an older kid and you're sorry you didn't have this conversation.
Yeah, and you want to warn other people as a public service announcement, like we're trying to do here.
Right.
So, all right, so walk us through that conversation, and I'll try not to interrupt.
Oh, that's okay. So this is a senior in high school, and he's heard from most, but not all of his schools yet, but he got into, as Andy had said, it's actually a state school in another state, so it's really like it's an out-of-state price, and it's double what an in-state New York State school would be, and which is also the student's option. The kid, of course, probably for what we talk about a lot, the rear window sticker reasons, really wants to go to, and not exclusively, the other big reason is because of the sports. That's the other big one.
Well,
he doesn't.
Often they are hand in hand.
Right. Well, he doesn't play the sport. He just wants to view the sport, I guess, live.
In a big state school.
In a big state school, not his state. And that's what he's focused on. Career-wise, truthfully, this kid wants to be an accountant. And I mention that because of the relevancy of So now we can all acknowledge that it really doesn't matter where he's going to go to school to get the trade of accounting under his belt, if he wants to be an accountant. Anyway, nonetheless, his father insists on getting a good value for the education, and in his eyes, rightly so, there is no distinguishing feature between the two schools except for the price tag, unfortunately. So he can't,
in the dad's eyes.
In the dad's eyes, and he can't, in good conscience, make that financial sacrifice for that end, to that end.
I mean, the way I always look at it is like if the kid were blindfolded and sitting in a freshman class at one school versus the other, you would have no idea where you were. The accents might be a little bit different, maybe, but quality of education-wise, hard to make the argument that one school is better than the other one.
Correct. They're all college kids. Some are here, some are there, some are there. Anyway, so the father's concern, or his father, the kid has been insisting, well, I really want to go to this other school. Why'd you let me apply there? And he said, I said you could apply anywhere you want, but unless these other places that have a high sticker price don't come down in the way of awards or merit or money you don't need to pay back and have as an albatross around your neck for the rest of your life or the near future after you get out of college.
Or the parent.
Or the parent.
Having all that debt.
Having all that debt, exactly. That needs to be figured into the decision. So he said that the kid.
Has he had the talk yet with his son?
He's been having the talk, and
it's a series of discussions.
It's a series of discussions where right now the kid won't even is unwilling to even visit these other state schools he has gotten into where they know people still so far. Because
that's an ongoing one.
That's an ongoing one. Has not yet. And the father wants to say, I want you to just see, because what the father is explaining is that the student is very consumed with the fact that other peers of his in area do not need to seemingly be forced with that choice. And I was explaining that sometimes things don't always. Sometimes somebody's outsides may not reflect what's really going on the inside. To that end, I shared that we have another client, we have had over the years, who made the choice to go to the high sticker price school to their financial detriment. When they were faced with a similar choice, this was a private institution versus going to a state school. The swing of dollars was about $40,000 a year different.
Extra.
And the schools are imperceptibly, academic, excellent wise, the same.
Well, when you look at
arguably,
GPA and average SATs, ACTs, are people coming in, that type of thing?
Yes, exactly. Or even prowess, bragging rights as between these two schools. I would argue even the less expensive school is more impressive. But in any case, in a similar,
the schools at least? That one or not?
It was Binghamton and Syracuse.
Oh yeah, okay.
So, and unfortunately here,
so Syracuse being about almost triple the price of Binghamton.
Correct.
More than double.
And we watched this happen like someone slides down a cactus tree. It was very sad.
I've never actually seen that.
No, but we can all imagine how that must feel if you're sliding down a cactus tree, right?
Okay.
So that's what this looked like in terms of, so this family couldn't afford it, was having, financial issues, even in terms of job stability. As it were, their living expenses were more than what they were bringing in, and they did not have this conversation in time and allowed the kid, so to speak, to drive the train.
Yeah.
And the kid went to the more expensive school. Eventually the family sold their house and had to make, even greater, huge financial sacrifices. To what end, folks? Really?
It'll take years for them to climb out of this hole that they're creating for themselves.
And that, exactly. So that is...
But even, listen, sorry to interrupt you, but even beyond that, this is something else we're talking today, even if you have the money, a lot of our families that we work with, they can't. It's not like they can't scrape two nickels together like the family you're talking about. It's they have a decent amount of money. They don't want to blow it all and then borrow the rest, or blow it all. Period. And they're questioning the value. And I think the issue that you said today was like, well, for a kid who's never paid a bill in their lives, like, how do you have that discussion? And I was sort of racking my brains. I'm thinking, like, okay, so let's say, you have an Xbox which costs, $200, and there's like a little bit nicer Xbox which has just a nicer like plastic casing on it, and that costs $400. And you say to your kid, okay, I'm gonna give you $200. You choose which Xbox you want, and if you're gonna come up with, if you choose the other one, then it's going to cost you a lot more than $200 extra because you're going to borrow it, you're going to pay interest on it, it's going to prevent you from doing other things. You can't go out, on weekends, in a year or sometime in the future, all that stuff. I don't know if that's really, something that's going to resonate with the kid who's never paid a bill, but I think it's really important. And we have 4 kids, one in college, one who's a junior in high school, and then a 9th grader and a 7th grader. The 2 younger ones are girls, the 2 older ones are guys. I was saying again, our oldest one's always worked, but he's been okay with money. He's been kind of frivolous with money. Our 11th grader worked a little bit, but he doesn't quite get it, because it didn't really work out at his first job not totally through his fault. He's very quick to ask us, for money for things, and not really understand that, the $1,200 worth of car repairs that he caused,
Public service announcement.
Yeah,
this is a big one. Turn up the volume. Go ahead.
No,
this is a good explain.
Well, I'm
Make
not
sure
going to get
you tell your
sidetracked.
kids.
No, I'm not. You can say that after. I don't want to get sidetracked about
either,
it. But it's like, they don't quite get that it just like, all the Microsoft Xbox bills that you see, flowing through our credit card,
right.
And instead of you, buying clothes for yourself or going to dinner or whatever, all these things, like they don't get. And that's why I was saying before that when or I guess this was in the ill-fated broadcast that didn't happen. You were talking about how when kids are a lot little, we have a lot more say over them, and they do more of what they're told. And I was saying, well, I'm not so sure about that. But as they get older, they start to have a mind of their own and all that. And the problem is when you don't have this talk early on and set expectations along the lines of, about just because you can apply somewhere doesn't mean I'm going to send you there. And that was something you had said about the client.
Yep.
The kid said something like, "Well, how come I applied?
Why'd you let me apply there?"
And what was the response?
I said you could apply wherever you want, but unless and until that price comes down to the neck of the woods of the state school, by hook or by crook. However, I'm not paying for that when this is an option.
So in this case, I don't think the kid really believed that. Because
right.
he had that conversation.
Right. Or they
that's just dad talking.
Or they suspend reality and think something is going to happen, that they're going to get some merit aid or something in, blood from a stone. Not really merit aid, but in a...
Well, they don't know. I don't even think they had that thought, the kid. I think they're just like, well,
I don't even know. It all costs the same somehow.
My dad and mom buy me clothes.
Right.
They pay, we have this house somehow. And
right.
They put gas in the car somehow, which is a segue for you. Whatever. It's just we go on vacations. We, buy stuff. We're not starving. So why should it be any different when I go to college? And I think a lot of parents just kind of internally, I don't know if they feel ashamed about not being able. Some do, about not being able to just write a check to pay for college. I hear that a lot from people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel so bad. I should have started this a lot earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I only have X amount saved. And my response is, you have plenty of company. Most people don't have, $250,000 extra lying around because it takes a lot of money to earn that $250 to net $250 after taxes. Yeah. But even if you do have it, then the question is,
do you want to spend it that way?
Yeah,
do you want to
really
pay a premium for something that may
investment?
not be worth that premium?
Yeah. So we see.
Unless you're buying into all the marketing out there.
So as far as we're concerned, this is the conversation that every family should have early on with kids, way before they apply to college, like our client apparently tried to do with the kid.
Well, we'll see what happens. Which one?
The one that he said you can apply anywhere. But we'll see what happens.
That story's not finished being told yet. We'll just see what happens. We'll have to see what happens. We'll have to report back.
What are you betting? Cheap school or expensive school? What's your bet? while she's deliberating for no reason. So there are more nuances to this also. So another conversation I have a lot when I'm talking to families one-on-one that I'm working with is along the lines of, okay, if you are not sure what you're going to major in, or you know you're going to major in education, or you know you're going to major in something where it doesn't necessarily matter where you go undergrad.
Right.
That is a different discussion than if you were dead set on going to Wall Street and you knew that paying up for Wharton or for some sort of Ivy League school could actually pay off, potentially.
Right.
But if our kids wanted to go to Wharton, which I don't see that happening,
Yeah.
but if they wanted to go to some, school with a return on investment, the high sticker price and a return on investment, I would be tempted to, drive an Uber or something just to kind of help them, make ends meet if I had to,
Right.
But I don't really
Depends on
see that
value.
that's what they're going into. Yeah. So in this case, the kid is not necessarily going into a career that it really matters where you go undergrad.
Correct.
So it's purely for It's purely for entertainment purposes.
That is correct.
To go to the big state school.
Correct.
Because he likes
so
sports.
too with this other party who ended up going to Syracuse.
Yeah. So what's your call? What's your prediction? Big out-of-state expensive school or in-state cheaper school? Come on.
I am hoping that
Not what
it's
you hope.
the
What's your
in-state
prediction? Okay,
school.
I'm gonna go with the other. I'm gonna go with the
Of
opposite.
course, I know.
Okay. I'm right.
We will report back on that.
Maybe.
I will.
Unless he's watching.
I will, in fairness, it might be.
Okay. All right. So continue with I think you were talking about just more of the return on investment stuff. I'm not sure.
Well, it's just parents sometimes are terrified to examine what the difference in value is when faced with that choice.
Yeah.
Because it's a hard conversation to have with yourself, much less your kid. If you can't justify why you would pay retail like that, upwards of $40,000 a year different.
Right.
Imagine just for 1 second if we said, well, what if we took the difference and send you to the state school and take $40,000 a year for 4 years? That's $160,000 and gave it to you when you graduate that state school. Then the kids, when they feel that money in their own pockets perceptually, maybe they would pause in their tracks a little and said, oh wow, really? So I would get $160,000 when I graduate if I just go to the state school? Have that conversation.
Yeah, that's
well, you give it to your kid. Incentivize them to keep the money in the family at least. Why are you giving it away?
Yeah, I think the problem, and we have the same type of problems, is that it's hard to make it tangible.
It is.
For
They're too
kids.
young.
Like all we're talking. Well, they're just. I don't know if it's young or it's a combination of young and inexperience.
Inexperience.
Yeah, without
By
having
virtue
to pay
of
for
being
stuff
young.
themselves. Yeah.
Right.
So I feel like we see a handful of kids who are not like that, but I think most kids are not exposed. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's not. I see some comments here. Margaret said she already had the conversation, had the talk with her sophomore, which is great. Jimmy Lee is on, Jimmy Lee is on, and I know firsthand that he and I had that conversation with Chris, who actually ended up at he got into harder schools to get into, but he ended up going to Bentley,
school,
which is easier to get into but gives a ton of money, and they're number 1 or number 2 for internships every year, and Chris is a business guy. Yeah. So that actually made sense for him to pay less to go to there as opposed to, I think he got into BC and some other schools that didn't give any money. And it was I thought it was kind of touch and go for a while whether he would end up at Bentley. That wasn't where he was psyched to go, but he seems like he's doing very well. Anyway, so I think a lot of times when you kind of try to explain this to kids, the issue is that they're like, yeah, this is just something else you're telling me. It doesn't really make sense to me. But if you start saying, like, just imagine you had $100,000, would you want to just give that to the school because then you have a chance at going to big basketball games or football games, or would you rather just keep it somehow and use that for something that's not immediate, instant gratification? Maybe it's a little delayed gratification, which I think this is a subset of. I think this is the question about instant versus delayed gratification. That's a big problem for some adults.
Yes.
I certainly am not the most patient person in the world, and okay, Pearl. But it's also it's a big deal for kids to learn that, because everything's so instant these days. The concept of having to kind of wait and earn something is
uncomfortable
foreign.
and uncomfortable for them because it's a muscle that has been untrained.
We had a situation. I don't know if I told you this. We had a person who was in this classroom this weekend. We're running ACT prep classes, and we offered a 1 lesson free trial, not free trial, money back guarantee. And just because it's a new business, and I mean our tutor is not new, but it's just new for us to promote, and we want to remove as much risk as possible. So we had this. Did I tell you this or not? We had this mom who was wishy-washy the whole way through about how her son was not the best student, but he's a really good kid, and he didn't do too well the first time he took the ACT, so he wants to take another one and prep for it. And kind of some red flags. She had this long conversation with me. She had this, it sounds like the identical conversation with Marissa. And she signs him up for the class. He sat there. I was here for a lot of it, observing it. And Marissa, as far as I'm concerned, it's ACT prep. So how interesting can it be? But she was, teaching. She was asking him, the whole class, a lot of questions because we only had 5 kids in there, so it's a nice small group. It's interactive.
We didn't have Barney.
What?
We didn't have Barney.
That's funny. 2 out of the 5. Yeah, Marissa's definitely not Barney. But we can talk her into it. 2 out of the
costume at least. 2
or 3 out of the 5 were asking questions and engaging, and this kid was not one of them. So we got an email the following day, technically after the guarantee period ended, and the mom said something like, my son didn't feel like it was right for him, which is fine because we said you don't even have to give us a reason. But then she went on to say he just didn't feel like he was engaged enough. And that she was doing too much writing on the whiteboard. And I'm thinking to myself, does he just like whiteboards to be clean? Is it like, what good luck in college? Like, what do you think you're going to get in college? But also she was asking questions the whole time. So, I just think that in that case, he didn't want to take the class. That was obvious to me, and the mom kind of shoved him into it.
Right.
So when you do stuff like that, when you force your kids to do things, or you let them, again, drive the train or the bus, too much, these types of results are going to happen. I promise you, he's not going to do well at all the next time he takes I should have said something like, I just refunded, I didn't respond, but I should have said something like, hey, let me know how he does on the next ACT. Once you get it, I'm curious, see if he improved on his own.
Right.
I'm sure I'll get radio silence for that.
Probably.
But it's all part of the same stuff. It's like kids have to understand that they have to do the work, and they have to understand that if you want whatever X is, you've got to do A, B, and C first. Yeah. With this talk, it's got to be about, I'm curious if any of you guys who are watching, if you guys have specifically what you've told them about, so Margaret said she had to talk with her sophomore. I'm curious what you already said to your sophomore about college costs, along the lines of what you were saying before. It's like, hey, you can apply anywhere you want, but the numbers have to work out, which is just odd anyway, because you wouldn't buy a house that way.
There's no other investment that you'd make without doing the same due diligence. Right? I mean, otherwise, you're not.
But you wouldn't be like, I really want to live in that house, and then we'll see how much it costs in 3 months.
Right.
It'd be more like, let me see how much it's going to cost, and then I'll invest the emotional energy and my other thoughts in whether I should live there.
Right.
If I can afford it.
Exactly.
But in college, it's like, it's bifurcated. It's, I want to go to the school, and then we'll figure out if I can afford it. That's odd.
Which, by the way, this touches on...
Makes it harder for kids.
And adults who make decisions that way as well. Just saying, if you make decisions and not look at all the facts and the financial facts, and you make these decisions based on emotional, irrational thought patterns, you are going to be in a bind at some point. And that is bad decision, arguably. And
arguably, that's how we make decisions anyway. I'm just saying. Like,
and often, I
believe 90% of our decisions are irrational, and then we justify them. But you've got to condition yourself
to try to put some thought behind decisions, especially ones that have such a hefty price tag.
So this kid that we're talking about at the beginning, he wants to go to a certain school because of stuff that we would say is irrational, but to him it's not irrational.
Right.
I want to have fun in college. I want to go to big games. I like the sports, the basketball, the football. I want to go all that stuff because I love sports. My response would be, friggin' watch it on TV. Go with your friends to a bar and watch it or something. I went to a tiny college. We had like 3,000 kids there. I mean, I played a sport, so that was probably a little different, but still, I didn't feel like I was missing out compared to my friends who went to Michigan and Wisconsin. They went to some of those games. Our niece, I guess she's our second cousin. My cousin's daughter goes to Alabama, and I remember he was telling me, Jeff, he went down. Loyal listener, Jeff, and Laura. He I think last year they went to go see a game, to visit her, see a game, and he ended up going to the game and she didn't.
Right.
He was just there, even though she went for the big time stuff. So it's probably a different feel than a tiny school. But and I guess the other thing, I don't mean to ramble. The other thing is, if you are dying to go to a Michigan or something and you don't get in, and you end up going to a state school, wherever you live, that doesn't necessarily have the same rah-rah sports and feel, I still think that 95% of the time you end up being very happy there and just, and making your own friends, and you'll have plenty of stuff to do also. I don't think the binary, either you're going to a great school where there's a lot of stuff to do, or you're going to hate college.
You're either going to have a college experience or not.
Yeah.
If you're going to college, you are going to have a college experience.
Well, there's more than one college experience.
Exactly.
That's another
Of course
thing.
there
We hear
is.
that a lot. I want the college experience.
And truthfully, every choice has a cost-benefit analysis. It has a cost, has a benefit.
Whether you choose to do it or not.
Right. No matter what choice you and your family ultimately make, go through what the cost-benefit analysis of all the choices are. You owe it to yourself. It's too big a price tag not to.
Let's go to the mailbag here. Okay, because I see some action here. So, Margaret says she told her daughter, 10th grader, that a state school is what we can afford. She wants to be a teacher. She refuses to stay home, which is fine. Right, I think that's perfect. Why would you go anywhere else? You can go anywhere and get a teaching certificate. Some schools are better with education than others, but if you're looking at, we know people who send their kids to Tulane or something for $75,000, then they become a teacher, or Princeton, or Columbia to grad school. But you can do the same thing at community college, and then to get the rest of your classes, your credits and stuff at a state school. I think that's very, very smart. So as long as she's committed to being a teacher. And you might see if she gets a scholarship to private schools also. Right, exactly. Like that happened with our son, who's at a state school. He's at Albany. He got into a bunch, I was telling this yesterday to another family, he got into a bunch of small liberal arts colleges that offered merit scholarships for some reason that even we can't that I knew that Pearl was stunned by, and we didn't even try to negotiate them yet, but the costs were substantially similar, only a little bit more than where he ended up at Albany. I personally thought that he would have done better at these smaller liberal arts colleges, and we visited like one, drove by a couple, and he decided that he'd rather go to a bigger state school. He felt more comfortable there. It was, there's other reasons that didn't have anything really to do with academics.
Right.
I think for the most part, he's doing well, and it's working out so far academically for him. Not purely, not with a couple of hiccups, but I would have rather him gone to a different type of school, but it was his decision at the end. But we talked through all these things.
Once the price tag was the same.
Yeah, and the numbers
also.
were similar, right? Which is what Margaret was saying. So I think again, you never know. All right, so Zelda, we told our junior approximately how much we were able to contribute. Then mentioned their part in scholarships. Then mentioned their part in expectations of working on and off campus. Right, exactly. So that is still, to me, it's still intangible for a lot of kids. But that's you got to keep. Even if you have the same conversation like 3 times or whatever, I think that's the type of stuff you need to talk about. Zelda, third person, lives in Maine. Okay, yeah. Are you at that diner? I think she. Were you the one who told me you were here Saturday from some diner? I actually spoke to another client today from Maine. You probably know them because Maine,
has 2 people in it.
yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Barbara. Loyal listener, Barbara Mitchell, who apparently not that loyal because I don't see her chiming away. She told me a really funny story. She for some reason, her I know the reason, but for some undisclosed reason, not appropriate for Facebook, they went to go see a super religious college. It was one of those where they had one of these debates, one of the presidential debates. I can't remember the name of it right now, but I'll remember as soon as we go off the air. And all the other schools that she was interested in had no religious denomination whatsoever. But they went to see this particular school. It wasn't Lynchburg, but it was in the South somewhere. Liberty, which I think is near Lynchburg actually.
Okay.
And she got there, and they kept hearing about how you could become a female pastor and all these other things. So they're like, nope, not going there. I'm like, how did you end up going there? And it's like a family member who's very religious now and all that. So that was kind of funny. But they were offering all kinds of money right off the bat. If you have a 3.0, you're going to get a full ride here. So I said, would be the worst thing in the world to get a full ride offer, so then you could possibly use that against other colleges, that you ultimately would prefer to go to, and maybe we can play them off against each other. But let's just try to do that with schools where she might actually end up wanting to attend, as opposed to purely for mercenary reasons.
Right.
Yeah. And we have another client talking today, Eric, whose daughter Isabella got into a handful of religious schools. She's a homeschool kid, and she was interested in some religious, some non-religious schools. There's one in Messiah, which is
we have a couple people there.
Yeah, exactly. Which is interesting for two Jews living on Long Island. But she's in and I think she's now leaning toward a more secular urban school. But we're using the other offers from the other schools to try to negotiate against the urban school that gave her a very good offer thus far. Yeah. So anyway, all right. What else we got? Anything else? Yes, the Portland Diner. Yeah, that's so funny.
Funny.
Try the hash browns.
Yeah. Next time we're in Maine.
Yeah, I was telling her, even though I have no basis for saying that. But how bad can they be? All right, good. So is there anything else? We're a little bit over our usual run time. But that happens on Facebook. Yeah. Anything else you want to discuss? If you're local, we have several workshops coming up this month.
Where do we find those?
We find those on our in Long Island.
Where do we find?
Website.
How do we find out when your workshops are going to be?
Pearl, I'm typing that in. Get off my back. If you go to our website, Lockwood College Prep, and click on workshops, you will see our workshop schedule. So we've got 3 coming up this month, tomorrow in Smithtown, which I actually think we sold out. If you can
Tomorrow?
If you can sell out a free workshop.
But check the website, because
weather?
Possible we're going to have a big snow out. Just saying.
Okay. Snow's going to come in the morning, tonight into the morning. The roads should be clear by then. And but we'll communicate with people otherwise.
Yes.
And then we are, let's see, I think Dix Hills and Greenlawn later this month. It's all on the website. And then next month, because I'm hoping to drag you, and my mom did say she would come with me this month to the one at Dix Hills. Yeah, she's coming in. She's visiting us. And then next month, I know we're in Roslyn and Manhasset and possibly one other place. We're trying to squeeze in an event here in this office because we have really comfortable seating for somewhere like those new stadium seats in the
yes,
in the movie theaters. It's somewhere in between those and hard aluminum benches with no backing. Somewhere on that scale. So yeah, we're planning that, and then we got some other stuff coming up for the summer. We're going to be promoting a boot camp that's going to happen in July for the college essays, and we're going to be also doing one in August, which will be a combination essay and applications just to get all that stuff done. And we'll do another one in September. We're going to open it up to current clients first, coaching clients first, and then we'll open it up after that to the outside world. What else?
Keeps a great thing, keeps you sticking to a timeline that keeps you on track so that you don't get hit like an avalanche with really the college process that unfolds that way. It's true. It's very effective.
The way I look at it is it's not necessarily the most intellectual thing to run a boot camp, although we do talk about here are each of the essay prompts, here how would you guys, what do you think about that? Let's talk about your activities, how would you describe this? There's one way to describe cashiering versus another way. One sells, one doesn't. Those types of things. But it's really more about just like getting kids' butts on seats, in seats, and confiscating your phone for 45 minutes. You'll live. go write something. I'll talk to you in 45 minutes. So there's some value to that.
Keeping them on track.
Yeah, making sure nothing slips through the cracks.
Exactly.
The worst thing you want ever to happen is you show up, you waste the whole summer, and now you're scrambling around in the fall. And you're trying to figure out, okay, how am I possibly going to do my regular schoolwork, my regular extracurricular activities, and my essays and applications and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot because there's a lot of it's not just a writing exercise; it's a time management exercise.
Yes.
So that's pretty rough.
Yeah.
So we have all that stuff coming up. If you're on our email list, then you'll get notifications of this. If you go to our website, you can sign up to be on our list. We're offering free college planning tips that come into your inbox once a week, every Friday, and we'll be on the air on this Friday. Also, we're doing College Coffee Talk, which I do every Friday at 9 a.m. Pearl usually does not join me, but occasionally she does. She's back from her hair appointment, so this was doesn't she look great? And every Friday I do a free hour of just answering questions about college planning, because I get a lot of emails from people. Hey, I have a quick question. I got one this morning from someone I spoke to yesterday, and I hope this isn't rude, but I want to ask you about, he made the volleyball team, but he needs to give up. I can't spend my time doing that, but I still want to be able to give free advice, and that's why we have College Coffee Talk every Friday. So
I make the coffee.
I made it this morning. It was delicious. Pearl has been making it probably 8 out of 10 times, and it's delicious also. She has a certain gift. She's very gifted in the Oh, we didn't talk about your promotion. Has everyone left us yet? No, we still have 6 people. Okay, so Pearl, we should have made a big press release about this.
Yes.
Pearl is now CSO because we opened up the tutoring center. She is now Chief Snack Officer.
Yes.
So she is responsible. The buck stops with her, as do the protein bars and pirate booties. The buck stops with her when it comes to feeding our kids during their ACT prep.
Bad snacks you will not find here.
Is that like Yoda? That's creepy.
Almost a Yoda voice.
What was that?
I was giving a little Yoda as my, chief snack officer.
That was disturbing.
Position.
Yeah. Okay. So cool. So that's on that note. We're gonna sign off, and don't ever talk like that again. Well, it wasn't even Yoda. You do a better Yoda.
I do a better Yoda than that. I think I was holding back.
Yeah. Okay. So if you want any more of this for some reason, visit our site. And otherwise, I'll see you here Friday, 9 a.m. All your college questions answered for an hour, up to an hour. And stay tuned for workshops. We're going to hit some webinars up. I think perhaps a St. Patty's Day themed Find Your Financial Aid Pot of Gold webinar could be brewing. There's a rumor about that. All sorts of other fun stuff. All right, talk to you later.
Bye.
Hi, this is Andy Lockwood. Don't forget to visit our website, lockwoodcollegeprep.com, for some more free, valuable information on how you can multiply your chances of admission to your dream colleges and qualify for thousands or tens of thousands of dollars of fat, juicy scholarships along the way. Visit lockwoodcollegeprep.com for information on our free upcoming workshops and webinars, and to download a copy of our #1 best-selling book, How to Pay Wholesale for College. That's lockwoodcollegeprep.com. Bye-bye.